Don't need volume if I'm not talking. What's going on? Don't need volume if I'm not talking. What's going on? Don't need volume if I'm not talking. What's going on? Just a virgin. Real tired, mate. What about you? Same. It never ends. Every day never ends. Whoa! I owe Posty $50. I stole his money. Caulfield, Rosehill. One time and then I'll give up. Body in the boot. Took all of 4 minutes. We did well. Okay. Oh, what else is news? Here we go. We'll get stuck into Rosehill because it's pretty plain to start. Warms up. Caulfield was interesting. 2-year-olds. Jury's out. Karen McAvoy had another fun day. A couple of 2-year-olds trialled, or one trial today that was pretty plain. The Blue Army. So Rosehill was a little bit weird. The fence looked like it was dicey. Shouldn't have been. Bit of irrigation went on the track. Not sure if that was why. Certainly looked like they were getting down the middle, but then they sort of, a couple of horses ran well on the fence. Was it Dark Glitter? Time to boogie roll back towards the inside, but most of the winners sort of came down that middle section, sat off the inside, which is certainly not normal for Rosehill, especially with the rail out and what should have been a good track, and at times were good. So maybe the fence, I don't know, copped some water or something. I'm not really sure, but I don't think it made huge effect on the day. Maybe a couple of horses would forgive runs back towards the inside, got stuck there. But overall, fairly interesting. Comedian, that's me. Comedian. Race 1. I made some very broad statements here. These just a camel fest, really. The time was okay. The win was okay. The win is a very solid horse, so I've got to be careful what I say. But sort of not much between them. Steady horses that I don't think have got huge progression in them is probably the best way to put it. Most of these horses are going to stay around this level, winner included, but it is a trier. It's sort of it's a horse you wouldn't knock trying to go to, sort of open Saturday grade, maybe. Carnival time, probably not, but so it certainly tries very hard, and that's all you can ask of a horse, right? If you could put these horses hard into other horses with a little bit more ability, that's probably the secret to racing.
Pretty sassy, nicely into
Laney.
Mogwai is there, and Paramatta is having a pop for the lead as well. So
I'm not sure. Maybe the inside did dry out late. Maybe that was the key.
And Pretty Tavi wide out, racing in the club cars, going to second spot now.
So the winner sits 3 wide. Mogwai's pretty disappointing on the inside. Paramatta was a bit of a surprise leader. No surprise to see it improve once it did lead. It sort of didn't get a chance out the back. A couple of this guy's horses, Atkins' horses, ran well on Saturday. Buffalo was an interesting runner, so we'll have a look at it later. I really didn't think there was much here. It's a Wonder deep into its prep. Again, sort of ran up to win and does a few things wrong in the run, gets its head side on late. Pretty frustrating creature. Missile Seeker keeps getting back, doing things wrong. Pretty Tavi's a pretty limited horse. Pretty sassy. Had its chance. Hell's Itch is just a horse of mine. Said already, Mogwai was a little bit disappointing. So and not much of a race. These horses will continue to race consistently against this level of horse. Just don't think too many of them will be getting out of this grade, and that's kind of, you know, what you're looking for is progressive horses out of these midways. And so far, not too many of them have produced horses that are too progressive. But yeah, no knock on the winners. Done a good job. No knock on Prometo. It was only second up and swapped from a back run to a front run and did a good job. So not much of a race. That's the harsh way to put it, Mr. Virgin. That's the harsh way to put it. This race is a little bit similar, except maybe Point Bass was a forgive. Gets Polex out of the gates. Off the press wasn't a bad run. Exit Fee's a decent horse. Don't really think it's anything super progressive, but, you know, arguably the best horse in this race and was set like pretty strong late. The last part of its race was the best part of its race, so certainly was okay and pretty dominant late. If anything, Walls Angel was a bit unlucky. I'm not a big Walls Angel fan.
Country Championship. So bide your times in. They're all in. There's the light.
Pack runners, that's it. Yeah, Posty, I owe you money. You don't need to join because we've got no giveaways, but I've got to give you, you do want to just use it Saturday. Just remind me on Saturday. I'll remember, but you're in again on Saturday. I owe you $50.
Rushing up on the outside, Spirits Burn.
Unless you want me to send it to you, which I can definitely do. So yeah, Exit Fee's back in the middle here, over racing a little bit in the white cap with the purple, midfield outside the thing in yellow. Nothing really does much. Off the press works in the run. It's not a fast run race, but it's sort of solid, even tempo. So off the press is definitely working harder than it should. And you know, it was arguably the best run in the race. I did miss the start, which is where Point Bass, which is this horse here in the black, gets squeezed out by between, I think it's Sunshine and is it Sunshine or is that a different race? It's Real Petite and something else. Anyway, it ends back towards the inside here. Nothing really happens. Point Bass is back on the inside. So the winner here is Exit Fee on the outside. Off the press, who's worked up outside the leader. They're probably the main three horses, I'd say. So Point Bass in the quartered cap back here. And Exit Fee, uninterrupted run, gets to the outside. Point Bass looks like it's trying to make a run back towards the inside here. Sort of gets held up. And then it's a little bit plain late visually, but, you know, it's only first up. And if we're saying, which I tend to agree with Paul, that hard defence was probably a bit of a slow lane at the start and maybe dried out as the day went on. That's another tick for Point Bass to say that it can improve a bit. But, yeah, the winner was okay. Every chance in the run, basically. And probably Point Bass is the horse that can do something and no knock whatsoever on off the press. If it draws a gate, yeah, it's a dangerous horse. Who rode it here? McAvoy. So, again, a McAvoy. He's just, we'll talk about him, but we'll talk about him later. But I think what you've got to, my biggest gripe with him at the moment is he's really struggling to hold horses. So, you know, tactics aside, whatever's going on, another one here that's exposed early and just gets running on him. So he tries to duck in for cover, and eventually the horse just gets going on him, and he can't really hold it. So, you know, that's happened on the United States. That's happened on this horse. That's happened on another couple of horses during the day here, where he basically can't hold them. So that's my biggest worry with McAvoy at the moment, personally. You can parlay. You can do whatever you want. Bet. Hang on, I forgot to tell everyone in the world I'm online here. Let's do that. How do we do that? There we go. So let's do that. Tyler strangled the shit out of Lady Boss. Yeah. Oh, he rode pretty heavily. Yeah, Kavanagh's hard to catch. You'd probably be aware of that one, Paul. Like, he's just really tricky to catch. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that race, Brendan. We'll get to that race. Race 3, so really slow tempo here, really slow. So, like nearly 8 lengths below to the 800, and then they don't really quicken to the 8 to the 6, then they come home, quick, really, quickest sort of sections of the day pretty much. Mr. Virgin's already mentioned that Lady Boss gets strangled outside the leader, and yeah, I'll give my opinion on the race. I think the horse that I'd want to go home with out of the race, out of any of them, the winner's not a bad horse, but probably French Rule is the horse I'd rather go home with. It's a bit of a victim of its racing pattern, which again is not great, but Step Aside was certainly peaking fitness-wise. Blinkers went on gate 1. Everything that could go its way did go its way. Here is certainly a Christmas sort of win. I don't think the race is too bad. I think the effort's pretty good, so I don't want to be super negative on it, but just be wary that I think it had its Christmas day here, Step Aside.
Tennant's just in there with one of these runners in the middle wide apart. They're off now. Blowing the start was Deep Rouge.
So yeah, kind of I think where Tyler loses the race here, he's semi-aggressive early, but the difference is Adam just bounces Salasano better and he's just more aggressive. And Gay's riders like Adam and Tim and Winona and countless other jockeys that have ridden for Gay over the years, they're just so good at dominating the race early and understanding that you've just got to assert that authority over the field in the first 100, 200 metres if you can, which really puts in two minds other jockeys whether they can get the front off you or whether they should take you on, whether they should take a sit. They're always being reactionary to what you do. So they're always, and they're usually tentative. So that's what I think happens to Tyler here. If Adam hadn't have sort of grabbed that length and a half early, Tyler should have taken the front, and he should have taken the front here. I agree. He should have 100%. If that was a different jockey, I've got no doubt they push onto the front here and probably, go close in the race. Whereas here, she's just overexpending energy outside the leader. And she's not the sort of horse that can sit sprint. So it's highly detrimental to horses that are more, not one-paced, but, well, they are one-paced, but they're sort of equally, they're better off running faster at an even tempo that they are at sitting, going slow and trying to sprint off it, which is playing into the hands of your Step Aside in the race. And that's what the difference is at the end of the race. So, yeah, I think it was a pretty steady ride on Lady Boss. I agree. It just sort of pulled itself into the ground. Winston Hill's back there, and French Ruler second last in the black and the yellow, black and gold, whatever that is on colourblind. So, yeah, you can visually see that a lot of these horses are just overspending. Winston Hill's, I thought, even though it's back in the field, was a little bit disappointing. It's a bit of a sit sprinter and had that perfect toe up. I don't think it's. I think it's a pretty limited horse. Been a little bit disappointing. Since a really dominant win first up. So, I wasn't in love with its effort. I thought French Ruler was the one, just given absolutely no winning chance. Just sort of gets buffeted, held up back in here. And I know this horse Cadetship gets chopped out a bit, but I thought French Ruler late was really good. So, yeah, the two leaders gone way too slow. Just way too slow to suit their style. Step Aside comes out sprints them. This is Cadetship getting held up, and this is French Ruler right down the outside.
Lady Boss and Step Aside. Zach Lloyd pushes the button, and Step Aside raced to the lead, kicked away. Zach Lloyd's holding.
So, yeah, Cadetship was a bit of a forgive for sure, but I think this horse is the one that sort of got far more upside. And the winner's a dangerous horse. Really honest, when things go its way, it can certainly win. So nothing more could have gone its way than what happened there. But it's got that turn of foot, a bit of tactical speed when it draws a spot to be able to hold one. So that's all you really want, right? Oh, Winston Hills is like 7th or 8th up, isn't it? I think it's had a lot of runs this prep. So it'll just find another race like this. We'll go for a spell. Frank, g'day, Camo. Age to blame with McAvoy. Well, to a degree, yeah. Yeah, I think he probably doesn't take gaps that he used to. He probably isn't as aggressive early as he used to, and he probably can't hold them as well as he used to. And all three of those things are, product of probably getting on a little bit for sure. And to his credit, he's not a big guy. Like, he's a tiny dude. He can ride very light naturally, which doesn't help with strength, you wouldn't think. So, maybe, if anything, he probably needs to get in the gym and if he wants to prolong his career and improve a little bit. I don't want to sound too negative towards him because I'm not trying to be, but that's probably what he needs to do. He probably needs to raise his riding limit up to sort of 54 and put on a couple of kilos of muscle. I don't know. Not many jockeys in his position can afford to do that, so at least he's got that option. Yeah, Tyler was in, and he whinged about both of them being working in the run. I don't know if you heard that, Paul, but yeah, he whinged about having working in the run and on Macarena, and he whinged about this horse didn't do a bad job. What's that? Is that like testosterone or something? Right, getting into slightly better races. Yeah, I was with Walenda here, and I did laugh. I was sort of stirring as much as anything, but why have I been paid $10? I was stirring as much as anything, but they came out with a change of tactics for Walenda to be ridden more forward. The map looked pretty ugly for it, to be fair. I didn't really understand where they were going to get to, but I thought if it got outside the leader, it was unbeatable. If it got outside of Bonita Queen in the run, which was a chance if it jumped really well and they were positive, then it was game over. But yeah, I did laugh when they changed the tactics to be ridden more forward and the horses 2 lengths last coming to the turn. They did go pretty quick and they did take off fairly early. So they went sort of steady tempo to the 800, then quickened from the 8 to the 6, and they were actually out on their feet late. So everything makes sense. The run of Walenda's, I think, clearly the best run in the race. Boston Rocks did nothing wrong. Enrich did nothing wrong. Fresh, the Blade, I don't know what to do with it at all. And Arts Alive was an interesting one, beaten 5 lengths after it put in that little career. I don't know what that was last start. Arts Alive, it was what did it run? 88. So it ran about, I'm not a super big personal best, but pretty big considering how it had been going, and it sort of regressed back to where it had been. So another pretty straightforward race.
Now, Pride to Follow's the last to move in, so they're locked and loaded. Race 4 over 1,100 metres, the favourite parked in Barry.
Yeah, I kept betting. Got out to like $9 for a while, Walenda. So yeah, you can see as soon as he does it. I actually don't think he rode it that poorly. I'm stirring because I don't think there was a spot for him. So once Arts Alive and Boston Rocks jump cleanly, he's probably looking for Bonita Queen. And when Bonita Queen misses the kick, he sort of half shits himself and goes, "Oh well, I'm going to go back in behind." Yeah, I don't. He's probably right. I don't know where he ends up if he goes forward. Who will know? Who would ever know? But you know, maybe he ends up outside leader or 1-1 because the thing outside him sort of kicks forward. But it did work quite hard. Yeah, it's here nor there now anyway. The effort was good.
To follow. Arts Alive handy, followed then by Boston
probably
Rocks.
Could have ended up outside leader or 1-1. And probably wins the race, to be honest.
Boston Rocks with the Blade Company.
Boston Rocks, when it was chasing Boston Rocks, I thought we're home here. Because Boston Rocks is really not known for one for fighting on, but that was going well. The Blade's in behind here. I don't really know what to make of it. Its first ever start was incredible. And since then, like, this run's not bad, but it's certainly not the run of a horse that you're chomping at the bit to follow next start. Stable's obviously very tricky to follow, especially first up. But yeah, I think this race will be okay. Average tempo, average overall sort of time. A similar sort of level race, I think this will feed to, whether Walenda goes back to the midweek, so it finds another race like this. Enrich can improve a little bit. I don't think it's any star, but there'll be a race for it, and the Blade's the one that you'll probably next start we'll find out a little bit more about how good the horse is and if it's got significant improvement in it or not. Because I don't think we learn a lot there on Saturday, but they sort of been off a let-up, wasn't it? And then it had a run, was a bit disappointing. 77 days, had a trial in between. So it's not as if it's a traditional Hawks prep where it's first up for 120 days or something like that and maybe a little bit underdone. This horse had been prepped up, had a run, 77 days since then, but had a trial as well. So yeah, probably a little bit more of a worrying sign. I only got beat 4 lengths by Private Harry. First up, 1,200 on that softish track over 1,200. So that wasn't really a poor run, but wasn't anywhere near what we saw on debut on the heavy track. So maybe it's just a wet tracker. Yeah, sort of jury's out on the Blade anyway. Now, Bonita went too quick after it, after the start, but it is a bit of a one-trick pony. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, he rode it. Well, he did ride. Well, he rode a winner. He rode a winner. He rode Ducasse from the back. Too good little. I don't know why they've put actually the horse. One of the horses I had a look trial. What's it called? Apocalyptic. I was amazed they put Tommy Berry back on. I thought they might put Tim on it. But they are a funny crew. All right, Millie Fox. Extraordinarily slow tempo. They do not quicken. So slow to the 800, slower to the 600, only marginally, but still slower. They come home pretty quick. Scarlet Oak looked at a living, breathing certainty in the run. Macarena never really travelled to my eye and was disappointing. Dark Glitter was huge. She's like handicapped horrifically here. One of my favourite horses. She's been frustrating but still good to us. But she was handicapped terrifically here. Actually, I wouldn't mind checking out what sort of benchmark they've given her because they may have slugged her off the back of a second here. But knowing Mike Van Gestel, it won't matter. So she was a 71. She's now a 90 indicative. Holy shit. Holy shit. That? No. That. So she's been given 19 points, so 9.5 kilos basically, for running second in a Millie Fox and only earning what? Bugger all. 56 grand, and she's copped a 19-point hammering. It's a bad system. I'm amazed they did that, to be honest. But in upside wise, Group 2 placing for her. Anyway, who cares? Yeah, Hille Stakes placed, and it's still stupid. If it was a gelding, they'd still give it the same thing. Is it poor placement from the trainer or not? Obviously, with fillies, it's a little bit trickier. But anyway, let's look at the race. Pretty weird, ugly race.
Trained by the Hawks family, who have a chunk of the ownership. And they're set now. And the gates are back. The rough and racing, and Macarena came out pretty well. Watch My Girl first into stride. Scarlet Oak very handy with hinged, and gates are back. The rough and racing.
So again, he's not. He comes out neutral, and this is the problem, I think. So I harped on about it a bit last week, but you heard Tyler Schiller. He rode that horse Lilac last week, so he rode it first up. He was a little bit negative like this, and then sort of poked around and ended up in an awkward spot. No positivity first up, and then he came out second up. He was positive on Lilac, and he came in after the race and basically said, "Oh, it was ready to go forward second up." So a horse like with good natural speed, it was ready to go forward second up. So he was a racer that was basically presented the front if it wanted it, outside leader, which is where it ends up, and he doesn't come out with any positivity. Not saying it cost it the race, but it definitely costs it having to work. It costs it having the dominance of being in front, which I think he could have got that spot really easily. Like horses like Scarlet Oak pulling here. He doesn't work too hard to get outside the leader. As you said, they're going quite slowly. But this is another horse that is not a sit sprint horse. It's not a horse that's... It's a horse that likes to roll, obviously likes to roll with something to chase usually, but it's a horse that does not quicken significantly. So again, gone too slow, outside leader, spending too much energy. The horse that surprised me when it pulled out and didn't really have a lot to give was Scarlet Oak. I just thought it was going to gaff them here, and the sort of the horse that was a little bit more one pace. She does have a big turn of foot and can sustain a run is Firestorm. But then you've got sort of Dark Glitter going past horses like Hinged and Our Gold Hope and Scarlet Oak and Macarena. And these it puts a big cloud over the form. The time's obviously not quick. They do come home okay late, but nothing significantly incredible. And she sort of just whacks away at the one speed, which is she's actually gone okay to my eye, Macarena. He just went way too slow on it. Should have taken the front, rolled along, and probably nearly won the race. Big error in the ride. He came back after the race and said what a great run it was first up, working up outside the lead, which was just completely not false, but very misleading. Our Goal Hope was okay. Smelly race. Yeah, well, nearly. I don't know what to say, Brendan, with the heavy track. I couldn't work it out, and I was with you. I thought when the market opened and Macarena was like 240, 250, and Scarlet Oak was 450, I thought that was pretty right. Like, I thought Macarena was a clear horse to beat around that price. Scarlet Oak, clearly around that price, was about right too, and it just kept drifting, and then they put the money on Electrica, it scratched, and then Scarlet Oak kept drifting again, and then you watched it travel. The run it was going to get, it was always going to get that great run. It's a weird one. It's either a wet tracker or I don't know. It's just, even in the run, you could see the jockey just thought it was how far, and it was not significantly disappointing, but if you backed it, you're pretty disappointed, and the way it looked like it was travelling, hard not to be disappointed. Donkeys is a bit harsh. I think these horses will win races. Firestorm's a very good horse. Second horse is an enigmatic horse, so's the trainer. Has got a huge turn of foot, so a slow run race is going to suit it. Hard fit horse. I think it sort of ran to its absolute best, arguably in the worst part of the track. So, yeah, it's a weird one. Can't see myself chiming into too many of these horses with much gusto going forward, unless, Scarlet Oak finds a wet track, and the winner's clearly the horse with all the upside this prep. Next. Silver Slipper. Average, so they just go sort of just below average time. They quicken a little bit from the 8 to 6, but they're still below average, and they come home slightly above average. They don't really do anything spectacular at any stage, but they don't do it. It's not horribly slow. Just a literally bang on average race. The winner does a good job sitting outside the leader, gets the right part of the track. Belmercy is disgraceful, so that's got to take something away from the race, I think. You just basically did nothing. Woderton obviously was heavily handicapped too by the drawer, and I thought the run of Buffalo was probably the run of the race. So, apart from the winner, from a future perspective, it looked like it didn't know what it was doing for half the race. So does that take away from the race or not? It's stronger than Woderton late, even though it didn't sit wide the trip. It's the big dark horse. Don't know what to do with Buffalo in the race. West of Swindon was okay. Hawks runner first up, sat a little bit closer than they probably expected, but still not the run of a horse. I want to be backing in a slipper off that. Maybe if it gets 1,400 a mile, it might be dangerous in a size or a champagne or something. But it was just okay. Woderton kept coming, but it wasn't anything spectacular. Its last 200 was pretty good. There's no doubt about that. Its run was okay, but Alabama Magic was a little bit disappointing for mine. I thought it'd run a little bit better. I thought it was a good roughie.
And the one all the talk's about for this year's slipper as it stands, Woden.
Who's Dark Leaders trainer? Mike Van Gestel, his name is. Yeah, I saw Scope Mucus, and they thought it'd be worse than that postie. I don't know. It just never travelled, never did anything. Maybe it had a virus or something, maybe. I think there was a big discussion whether it bled in the run too. I'm not sure what that was about. But they had a big sort of nearly an inquiry to see whether it bled after the race or not. So yeah, again, when you go in with a plan to be negative, to me over these sprint races is just diabolical. And you can see McAvoy just grabs hold of the horse and doesn't even give it a chance to sort of do anything and ends up wide. Brat Summers, the horse that pretty much stuffs his race. Donovan Dillon coming out looking like he's riding a motorbike the first couple of 100 metres and driving it into a position for no reason whatsoever. He could have just flopped to the fence and then, Buffalo and whatever would have come across. McAvoy's life would have been a lot easier. But now he's fighting to try and get in behind horses that are going too slow for him to get in behind, and he's now stuck out wide. And again, it's not so much that the horse, he's wide and everything. He can't hold the horse. You can look at him, you can see that he can't hold it. Horse is really tugging and whatever. He's really struggling to hold the horse. He's not got the horse in a rhythm. So even though it's wide and working, you've got it sort of pulling and over racing and doing a lot wrong. Belmercy behind the leader does nothing. Gambler Tree, he went like he trialled, like a quarter horse. Outside leader, he trialled really well before his first up run and looked a bit like he was an ex-prep horse, but maybe the penny's dropping and maybe he can continue to improve. You've got to take him seriously off this. Baywhack, what his name is, Baywatch. David Hasselhoff, you've got to take him fairly seriously, I think, just because the level of horses is not much better than this. So, what you see is what you get, and we've got to deal with what we've got in front of us. So he was okay. West of Swindon okay. This is Wodenton out wide, and Buffalo's back in behind them. I don't know what the jockey's doing on it, but I don't think the horse really knows what he's doing either. So Buffalo's back here in the David Atkins colours. And watch him the last 200. It's pretty good. All honours with the winner for mine. Watch Buffalo late. Like, Wodenton is coming and keeps coming, but look at this guy when he finally sort of puts the whip in the right, and he just sort of puts the whip away the last 100 metres. And then through the line, Buffalo goes straight past Wodenton. He comes nearly out past the winner, nearly on the bend.
Buffalo charging home at the end in the fourth. Then came Alabama Magic.
I'd be trying to buy this horse if I was any sort of,
There's a
I don't know who owns it. But I'd be trying to buy it if I was one of the big dudes. Because he could be a bit of a giant killer when it comes to the 1,400 metre mile races. Buffalo. Written by, contributing. So... Oh, so they've bred it. So, okay, so the owners bred it. 2-year-old gelding, and pretty sure he had the mare contributing. I'd still be trying to buy it. Yeah, same as Paramatta. Greenie, it's tough because the trainer is so hard to catch. But the horse looks like it's got ability, and once it gets to 1,400 or a mile, it looks like it could do anything. And whether that's this prep or not, I don't know. I do like that it's had a run and a trial prior to Christmas, so November last year, then it's come back and trialled, and that was only had the one trial and then this race. So I like the setup that it's got. There's no depth to any of the races. You know, like it's probably ridiculously short in a size or a Champagne now anyway, but I think it'll struggle to get into a slipper and win a slipper, but it may get into a Champagne or size race. Yeah, he used to put JP on a bit. I have mentioned it to him, so see what happens. Oh, Wodenton's 2-1 favourite for the slipper, so you know it's well and truly still in the race. It could easily draw a gate next start, lob 4th, 5th, and just gap them again. Like, its run's good. There's nothing wrong with its run. It's just everything went pear-shaped. Maybe it's not as good a run as normal around Rosehill because the down the middle was a little bit more sympathetic than usual, and the fence wasn't great. It did get decent tempo to suit. You know, it's not a flashing light run like the greatest run of all time, but it was more than a pass mark heading to a race like the Todman where J-Mac will no doubt go back aboard and we'll see what the horse has got. 21's in the size. Yeah, that's probably fair enough. Probably fair enough from that stable. Paramatta Cup. This was a bit of a barrier trial race for most runners. Races run at a very slow tempo. So again, that sort of makes it even more difficult for the first up horses and the horses out the back to run on, which is certainly like the 8 to the 6, 8 to the 4. A lot of the fastest splits of the day are the horses out the back here that ran on. Probably the best run on in the race was Athabaskan. Maintained a really strong run from the 800 to the right to the line. It's probably the best run on clearly, actually. Sneaky runs from sort of Circle of Fire, Francesco Guardi, Waltham out the back. They did enough. Sakurai did enough. Yeah, there's a lot of pass marks plus here. So we'll watch it once and then probably move on because the winner's just hard fit, had the right run, going really well. Ryder rode it, did a good job. And Palmetto, I think, showed that it didn't run the 2,000 out strongly. If it was ever going to run a strong 2,000 out, it was off the back of this slow tempo. Didn't quite get there. Fuji de San ran up to win and didn't quite get there either. So, yeah, it's a bit of a nothing race. Drew Humphrey, the old grand final polish. We saw what Kieran Marr can do again. Like he's been struggling for mine, and Jimmy Star blew their heads off. You got to really tack a bit on these grand finals for these horses, and you know that horse is, well, it's important for that horse to win along the way as a stallion prospect, but it's also important to win the Gold Slipper, right? So not much happens here. Redstone Wall leads, and he's left the lane in front. Don Diego de Vega's probably the horse that was most disappointing in the race. I think that's fair to to say. Palmetto, Isaac Kinesiology, 1 out, 2 back, Asterix on the fence, Fujita San, Mans Lois, Zachariah, Athabaskan back here, Francesco Guardian, Waltham, and Circle of Fire. So basically the Flying V, they don't do a lot. They sprint home all in pretty similar times. Sort of said Athabaskan probably sticks on a little bit better late than anything else. But well and truly pass marks for all of them, except for probably Don Vago Diego, who's already had a run and he was probably weakest late. So just a little bit worrying for him. But the rest of them all did decent enough jobs. I think Palmetto needs to come back in trip. I think Fujita San is a complete suck of a creature. But did have to try and overcome a slow tempo, which is not easy when, you know, you're not super talented. So, yeah, it is what it is. Don Diego maybe, but all that form sort of hasn't really come on, has it? Who was Gates' horse that was it Bear on the Loose? That form's all a little bit smelly. The Englishman, I think the Englishman's ended up in Brisbane or somewhere. Bear on the Loose, all that form's not looked exceptionally strong. So maybe it just, and they were wet tracks too. So it's either a wet track or maybe it's just a horse. It's a bit tricky. Like, you know, Time Quest, Kapakiri, our Anchorage definitely wasn't going as well back then as it is now. There's a lot of steady horses in that form line, and then when it won, it beat sort of the Englishman. I think I'm Into Win was on the back of its prep there. Baker Lou, I Am Province, like these are just pretty steady horses. Fortune was on the back of its prep. Associates a Midway as a highway horse, so maybe there's no depth to that form either. Hobartville. You were very, 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 very happy with yourself after about 200 metres here if you're back broadsiding.
He's the favourite. The lights on, ready to go in the Hobartville Stakes.
Fairly even tempo, slightly below average. They quicken from the 8 to the 6 slightly, and they quicken up home only again, you know, fairly slightly. The race overall is above average, but nothing spectacular. And again, you know, the winner does a good job. Swift Falcon, you know, I could argue is the run of the day here. Another horse that just needs, like, they take Jay off it and they find Schiller the Thriller, which just you just love to see this horse get a jockey. I think it'll give broadsiding a hell of a fright wherever it goes if they put a jockey on it, but I don't think they will. Even if it doesn't, I still think he'll give them a fright. I think this horse is pretty special. The winner's pretty bomb-proof too, though, so, you know, no taking away from it. Linebacker was huge. Have a look at the start. Another sort of, it's a K-Mac pylon, but he does miss the kick, but then he gives up really quickly. Was that the right decision to make it? Second up prep with a long prep ahead? Maybe it was. Aliana was really good as well. No real knock on. So this is linebacker here in the Frank Cook colours. He sort of just misses it enough. So he just misses it enough. But he would have been following Mayfair through. So, you know, I could probably make the argument here that you know that Public Attention is going to roll forward. You know that Mayfair is going to make a beeline for the fence. So if you've missed the kick, but you're following the right horse, your main opposition here, or the horse that you want to get beat, is broadsiding. So you want to be in front of Hit, I would say. I don't think you want to be behind broadsiding. I think that's a fair enough comment to make. So, you know, it's probably a 50-50 call, but on a horse like this, I think you want to give it a little dig and hope that Mayfair just goes a little bit quick and you slot in behind him. Easy decision for some imbecile like me to make sitting behind a keyboard. But to me, that was probably, you know, he's 50-50 here. And then that, you know, once he decides to grab hold, it's game over for linebacker. But he runs extremely well, I thought. And that made the race for Zach. He just lands in the 1-1. You can see his eyes light up there when that position becomes available to just head back over across in front of these horses, because he would have been stuck potentially in no man's land, and he ends up getting the dream run. Even Aliana grabs hold to let him in front of him. You know, like it couldn't have gone better for Zach that first 400 metres, but he made his own luck. Every chance Public Attention, every chance Mayfair, it did improve. Every chance Aliana from this point, pretty much. And we'll sort of talk about linebacker and Swift Falcon. You knew they were going to go back. He definitely doesn't have the speed of the others as well. but he was, aggressively restrained to be taken back towards the end of the field and run some of the strongest last 800, 600, 400, 200 sections for the day. So coming to the bend, I actually thought that Public Attention would sort of get to the outside of Mayfair and prove pretty hard to beat. I thought that Broadsiding would struggle to run this horse down, but he was a lot more one-paced even than he was first up, which he was first up there. When he was first up, he's quite one-paced there. So he's looking for 2,000 already, I think, Public Attention. Broadsiding never looks like really getting beat. Lineback is very interesting through the line, and Swift Falcon's right down the outside here.
Broadsiding being cuddled here by Lloyd and starting to close in the gun colt. Mayfair at the 250, a length in front to Public Attention. Broadsiding claims them now. 3 further back to Swift Falcon charging home. Broadsiding's dashed away though. Inside the 100 from rattling home Swift Falcon and Aliana.
So it's very soft on the line, but that could be overplayed too. It's a bit of a tricky one, this. But for a going forward perspective, because Broadsiding basically, he's been very lucky, I would say, the first half of the race. He doesn't really have great tactical speed, and he's landed in the best spot he could have possibly landed. He was first up. Swift Falcon, the same, first up, but lands, a negative position on a controlled tempo. So, next time around, there's potential for that to change. If it draws outside Broadsiding and Swift Falcon draws inside, if the gods are nice with us and he gets a rider change as well, he could land in a lot more positive position, Swift Falcon, and I think he could turn the tables on a horse like Broadsiding. The market will be very in love with Broadsiding, which they're entitled to be. But, and he looked soft on the line late, and he kind of is. Like, it's a pretty good effort, but this horse is still finishing him significantly well. Like, he's made up a lot of ground, and he's strong through the line, and then we'll have a look at linebacker here. So he's the other horse that can improve significantly, I think. I think he was pretty good through the line, and after the line he was good. I doubt that Aliana will match up against the Colts again, so I don't think we're going to have to sort of square them off. But sort of going to a mile next time, I'd say this horse, Swift Falcon's probably got the most improvement in it. Broadsiding doesn't need to improve, but has a little bit. This bloke, if he gets up on speed and rolling and sits outside Mayfair or behind him, he's a horse that can improve. So I think they're the 3 main players going to a mile. I think this guy's probably, had his day in the sun, and once they get to 2,000 or further, if that's their sort of intention, maybe he can be more dangerous there. And Aliana will be dangerous back towards Phillies grade. If Swift Falcon was mine to be going to the Doncaster, and there's no doubt about it. And but it also, like a Randwick Guineas or something like that, is pretty much of a gimme option as well, right? Probably Brendan, and that's what I'm saying. Like what I'm saying. So probably how I'd put it: if Swift Falcon drew 4 next time, and Broadsiding drew 10. I think the market would still have them closer. Sorry, not close enough. I think Swift Falcon should nearly be favourite in that situation, in my opinion. Whereas I think that they'd have it, say, for argument's sake, $2.50, $4.50, $4 or $2.55, Broadsiding Swift Falcon. I think there'd be that big a gap when I think they should be much closer to $3.25, $3.50, something like that. I think that's how I sort of look at it. And I think that linebacker could be completely forgotten. If it gets a rider change and a little bit different setup, it probably will be a lot bigger price than it should be. And I think there'll be a bigger gap between the 3 than there should be. I think Broadsiding's probably going to be a little bit, well, we can have a look, to be honest. But I don't want to bet now. That's the thing. I would want to wait and see what goes on. Conditions, everything. Because I think you'll get the edge no matter what. And Guineas. So there you go. Even money Broadsiding, $8 Swift Falcon. That's just too big a gap. And if they draw different gates, like pretty much what I said would probably be true. It'd probably be $6 to $4, $6, $7. linebacker $11, you'll probably get at least that, no matter where it draws. And then whether the fillies match up against the colts in a Randwick Guineas is unlikely, I would say, because they're just the fillies races are there to win. Maybe he'll split them. Maybe he'll split the two fillies. And Aliana's dangerous as well, but yeah. What price is it in the Doncaster? $15 the Doncaster. If you knew it was going there, but all in betting, $15. Bit of a nightmare, isn't it? There's not. Why would CO Wolf be second favourite for the Doncaster? Is that a joke? Unless he's come out and said he's targeting it. Why the hell would he be targeting the Doncaster? I'd have it, if you knew it was going there, I'd have it close to favourite. But you've got that little niggle in your back of your mind that the 3-year-old form's pretty steady too. But there's not much here that looks very exciting, is there? Anyway, let's go back to getting through these last couple of races. Caulfield, I don't think Caulfield Cup. I think it's the opposite. I think Swift Falcon's a miler. It's done nothing to really say that it's going to run a strong 2,000 out yet. Sort of come to the end of its prep last time in, but put some big runs from back of the field against slow tempos, but it hasn't really done anything to say it's. Yeah, I agree, Paul. I think I'd have it favourite if you knew it was going there. I'd have it favourite. Ducasse good here, fast tempo. They quicken up early. They go hard to the 800. They go even harder to the 600, and then they slow up only marginally. Fast overall time here. So this race is good. Ducasse has done a really good job. Headley Grange has run really well. Sabark's run well. Coast Watch has set a fast tempo in front, stuck on well. Belair's have gone okay. West of Africa's made a long run and then sort of peaked late, which it's entitled to after making a really strong run from the 800 to the 200. And then getting tired late. So its effort was good. It's probably one to keep an eye on. Sort of 21 days between runs. I think West of Africa would be interesting in a similar race like this if it could find, the right race and even back, say like 1,300. I think it's going really well, West of Africa. But the winners returned well. Probably want 3 weeks between runs to find it too. Offer such a taxing sort of first up win.
Racing now, and Sabark left the gates quite well. Together
not a lot happens in the run. They go quick. I don't think anyone anticipated such a fast tempo from a horse like Coast Watch, but as we've come to learn, a few of these apprentices are a little bit tricky the way they handle tempos. They've not got the fastest clock.
Is now 4 off the lead in third on the outside of what it goes. Then Ducasse.
So it goes too fast on Coast Watch, and it's effort. Good big weight. Worked out probably as well as it possibly could for Headley Grange from that outside draw with the blinkers on. Got a bunny to chase back in distance and did a good job. Did a really good job. Ducasse is just a very good horse. First up gelding and stuck it out really well considering it was first up. Built looked like it was going to run into it, then sort of runs out of room here and then he sits up on it late. It was a bit funny. I thought its run was a bit weird. Belair was okay. Water Goes sort of again was just okay. Sabark we sort of talked about was first up. So I think most of these horses can find a race. Bold Mac was even good back in the middle here. So I think there's a bit of merit in this race. I think most of these horses can find a race that's suitable. But as we've found, most of these horses stay in this sort of grade again. They just sort of take turns sort of horses. So they're tricky to line up. Whereas Ducasse, 3 weeks between runs, I think, he could build off this and probably run well in a decent race. Could he be I don't know, could he sneak into a Doncaster? It's pretty hard to say, but he's only 25 to 1 in the Doncaster. So he could sneak into a Doncaster if he sort of won a lead up or something like that maybe. He's an interesting horse. He's definitely, I think he's had feed issues and whatever along the way. If they're all solved now, he's a pretty dangerous horse now that he's gelded and if he's on his best behaviour. It was definitely a first up win of a horse that could get to a Doncaster. Whether it's good enough to win or not, it's obviously a big step. So it's interesting. One of the fellas in the chat's also saying that K-Max got the sack from linebacker, so it'll probably be Zach Lloyd or someone else if it heads to the Guinea. So that's a good thing probably for linebacker. And the last bit of a nothing race to finish is a good race. They run along, they maintain the speed, they quicken off it. So even tempo to the 8, quicken to the 6, quicken again home. Well above average race overall, or pretty solid race above average overall. And then that's about it. So the winner is back in distance, got the ride that it was been looking for, went a lot faster in front. So Zach Lloyd rides the horse well, and even tempo.
Ready to go.
Again, Osmar probably victim of circumstance, but another one that's picking on K-Mac for the day, and I'm not meaning to, but he just gets going keen on it. Just a big, strong filly that he's struggling to hold. She's an A-lister really good again from a decent position. Probably didn't look at quick tempo's run out of its head, from an outside leader position here. It was 60 to 1, and when you watched it, I thought, well, maybe Osmar and She's an A-lister were disappointing here, not being able to get past quick tempo, but he's stuck on really well. It was a return to form for quick tempo, so good to see. And no real excuses for anything. Black Cloud had its chance.
And the favourite gets onto its back.
Osmar to me looks like it's a horse that just is desperate for a middle to wide draw and be able to just be in clean air and maybe Randwick, and I think she'll be ready to go next start. So I'm really interested to stick with Osmar. Not with huge confidence because she's just a bit of a suck too. She does a few things wrong in the run, but I think she's just a horse that hates gate 1. So, I think she can improve Osmar. She's an A-list, is flying. No fluke in the run, quick tempo. I can't knock it. And, the sort of first 5 across the line are all good. And they're all going well enough to sort of find the right race and win, I think. But well ridden, perfectly set up, well ridden. Big improver. Good again off a really good first up run. Good again with slight excuses. But I think that inside draw is really against her racing style. And you can see she just resents being there. And Cosmonova and Black Cloud were okay again, but they're probably a little bit harder to place. Yeah. Max and Richard Collett, I didn't even realise that. Hang on, Rose at 3. Yeah, it's got good wet track form, I think, from memory. Swift Falcon. I'll have a look at it right now. I honestly think it was the run of the day. I just yeah, so it's 1 on a heavy 10. It's 1 on a heavy 10 over 1400. Came from back in the field off a fast tempo. So it was pace assisted, beat Graceful Artist and Sovereign Hill. So whether it loves a wet track or not, not sure. But it does handle it. And yeah, it was like slow tempo. I honestly think it's a miler personally. If it runs further, it runs further. But I think a mile's its sweet spot at this point. You're dead set be setting it for the Doncaster. It was mine. Will he do it? That's the Kiwi horse, isn't it? It's owned by those microshare people, isn't it? We'll have a quick look at these Melbourne races. Probably get them up. That'll be easier. Caulfield. So, all right. So I'm going to watch the Treasure of the Moment replay just to get excited about Treasure of the Moment. Curvalant was good with the blinkers back on, but there was no merit in the back half of that race, which is interesting because it was so dominant, but the race overall was okay and she was up on a fast tempo. So she did a good job, but be careful with the back half of that race. Mr. Brightside's race was pretty solid. Devil Knight's race controlled speed. They quickened off it, so a slow tempo there, hard to run on. Jimmy Star's race, they've gone 100 miles an hour the whole way. And the last was quite fast run, and Deny Knowledge has done a good job to sort of keep going. It is pretty sus to me, Brendan. Pretty sus. I wouldn't mind. I'll write down to have a look at its trial in a minute. It obviously trialled this morning. But it is sus. It is sussy McSuss. All right. we'll have a very, very fast look at this horse, Treasure at the moment. My only regret in life is not having more on this and trusting everything I've ever been taught or thought about racing.
And they're racing.
But like when she lands outside the leader under a grip, holy shit.
Choice going out the back, beginning well as expected. Two down Lizzie to lead Immortal Star.
I had the pants off at the 1,000-metre mark here.
And Jenny the Fox the rails. 2 lengths Actuality, perfect.
If ever you could draw up a race where everything went to plan and this was it. Holy cow, like they're not overdoing the tempo, even tempo, which suits her. You know, a sit sprint was probably going to be a little bit of a worry for her, but just going along at an even tempo sort of took out a bit of the luck out of the equation. And the way she sort of toes up to the leader was very handy. And she just goes through gears. And that's what she's got. She's definitely got gears that these horses just don't have. You know, she hardly got through second gear, I don't think. You know, she's never going to put 10 on a field, but he just lets her idle down and, you know, did what she needed to do.
Jenny the Fox second.
Bless her heart.
Third, 2 down Lizzie, then Perfect Picture. Qatar's Choice, Immortal Star. And then at the end of the field was Benazil and last Actuality. Treasure the Moments.
That's the difference, Brendan. Honestly, that's the difference. And I struggle to catch Damien Lane, but this horse kind of looked like it was going to do it itself anyway. Futurity Stakes, tough watch for...
Looking to go back to back here, Mr. Brightside. There's
Big Tom Kitten.
Attendance in, they're set for the futurity.
Backers, I don't know. I thought they erred not trying to take it up with Pericles and making sure that Tom Kitten got third defence. I thought they were being a little bit hesitant on Pericles, sort of really played against Tom Kitten. He does nothing wrong, Mr. Brightside. Excellent effort up outside a solid tempo again. But he's very lucky to get away with the race. Definitely looked like he was just a little dip in performance off a really good first up performance, which I think everyone kind of expected him to do, but still be too good, and probably thought he'd have, you know, half a length or a length spare rather than get, you know, nearly run down. Evaporate's done a good job. I Wish I Win loomed up like it was going to put him away again and struggled, which I think he's done too many times for mine. He looks the winner again, and Tom Kitten's, you know, clearly the horse that should have won the race. Not I Wish I Win. Yeah, he's a good horse, I Wish I Win. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good horse, but Mr. Brightside's a better horse. And Tom Kitten's absolutely flying.
Behind those horses then Evaporate and also Freedom Rally. Behind those horses
I think everything kind of went to plan there. Everything kind of went to what we thought pre-race would happen. I don't think there was anything too exciting there. The 3-year-old form's okay. I think Evaporate's the best of the 3-year-olds. Private Life is in a bit of trouble. They probably should have retired him after the Randwick Guinea, after the Caulfield Guineas win. I don't think I would have ever let him back near a racetrack if he was mine. This run down the outside was good. Light Infantry Man, I thought it was good. Through the line.
4 times.
There'll be plenty of winners come out of this race over the next few weeks. I'll be sure of that. Yeah, he definitely got warmed up nicely. He gets to Flemington, he'll be dangerous in a race that's a similar nature to this. He was really good. Evaporate played up, Roberto. Was it the trial or just the horse ability that made you keen on Oaks winner first? Sean, mate, everything. If you like, actually, I laugh. I put together sort of clip today. It was quite funny because if you watch we only really started looking at the race when we did that Thursday night dogs and trots and looking at the race, and she's not a typical Oaks horse. She won off slow tempo. She's beaten early in a prep last time off slow tempo. She just continued to improve through a prep. Her 2 trials this time in were incredible. The setup of the race is incredible. The favourite, which was Gaze, was favourite first up 1400 against this horse first up 1400. It just didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. So it was incredible. Kitten flattered massively by the run it got. For this, I would say, yes, it should have won, but it would have had every favour, yes, and yes. So it had tempo to suit, had the right draw, the way the track was racing was ideal. If it had have won the race, it would have been a heavily flattered win. But it was set up, its first up run was really good. Sorry, its trials were really good. and its fresh form, everything sort of pointed to it running very well there. So I don't think it was a flash in the pan run. I think it'll run well again. I think Mr. Brightside's a better horse, and it was, you know, arguably a better run on Saturday. Mr. Brightside should have won, would have been flattered by winning. That's the kind of argument, right? Should have put Metrics of the Moment Jimmy all up instead of Ostraka. I did, thank God. I took them all, Max, so it was good. The Jimmy Treasure of the Moment, Lismore, what was it? Lismore race 1 all up was very handy. Yeah, I want to have a look at that trial because I haven't looked at it yet. All right, next, Blue Diamond. This race was okay.
Coming to the outside.
There were some unlucky runners. Tycoon Star was enormous.
The Blue Diamond, Tentris away, fairly field of play.
So the gate kind of won the race. You can't knock the winner. It's had 2 starts in its life and it's run out of its skin twice. It's definitely had the right run twice, but it's run out of its skin twice. It's up on speed here in a Blue Diamond and kicks on. Whether it's the fastest run Blue Diamond in the world, absolutely not. But yeah, the horses that were a little bit unlucky. Tempted's back here in the white cap, and Tycoon Star's even further back. I think they're the main 2.
My Gladiola, Cherish Me, and next on the rails, Tentris. Further back in the
this horse, like Tetris or whatever it's called, gets the same run as Tom Kitten pretty much that we're talking about, so it gets the absolute dream run through. I think if you swap the gates, this is Tempted. If you swap the gates with the 2 Godolphin runners, I think probably Tempted wins the race. If you swap the gates with the 2 Yulong horses, maybe Tycoon Star wins, but bit of a fruitless argument now.
Gladiola and Tycoon Star from a long way back. Devil Knight below the 200 metres in front.
Tycoon Star was huge.
Tentris and Tycoon Star. Devil Knight.
I'd probably.
Tentris is going to put in a lunge again.
I think she's a pretty good filly, but I'd probably rather have him going forward than her. I think he was clearly the run of the race. Absolutely flattered Tetris, and the winner was very, very solid. So I don't think there's much more to look at there at this point. Yeah, I'm same with Posty. I'm not sold on this form at all, especially the horses that are in the right spots. I think Devil Knight, if it goes onto a slipper or something, it's got to do it all in its first prep. It's probably madness. So I'd be happy to oppose her on that alone, you would say. And then this horse I'm not that keen on. Playwrights had more starts than the Twitter bird who knocked off 100 blokes in a day, and Tycoon Star was very good. This horse is going to be deep into its first prep too, so you wouldn't think much of this form would travel to Sydney. Something, Max, something. Yeah, every year it's getting worse and worse. It's very weird at the moment. The 2-year-olds, you'd say arguably that Bella Zane form's looking good now. I think Baywack ran second to Bella Zane, so maybe she's interesting going forward. And then North England's got to come back too. There's the 2 Gay Waterhouse horses that probably got to throw their hat back in the ring. I want to have a look at the trial of a horse called Strata Verena or something. Strata Verena. Apocalyptic, I thought trial pretty steady today. So yeah, there's not a lot happening there. We'll have a look at the Oakley Plate and then have a look at this week's races and those couple of 2-year-olds or whatever.
Set to go.
Jeez, this was a win, wasn't it? Holy shit. I actually thought Ostraka went better than it did the first time I watched it, but he's back here with Jimmy Star. Like, Jimmy Star's back last at the moment. Probably a slightly better run through them than Ostraka had to sort of come around them, but, definitely not saying in any realms of possibility Ostraka should have been in the finish. It's effort. I actually thought live was better than what I look at in hindsight. Jimmy was just dominant over these horses. Headwell was a bit unlucky. Definitely wasn't a vintage Oakley Plate. There's no superstars up front here that they've run past, but yeah, he's just way too good. So this is Jimmy Star back in the what do they call the Aussie Kier colours. Headwell's back on the inside here in the pink. This is Ostraka letting down with Estrella down the outside. Very solid again from She's Bulletproof. I thought it was on Espionage in the run. I thought Espionage's run was actually very, very good. Maybe the forgotten horse.
the sky to win from She's Bulletproof, and then
So Espionage is kind of working throughout, never really comfortable in the run. I think it's got cover on the back of Arabian Summer, but I thought its effort was still very good late. But Jimmy's turn of foot was excellent. A lot of horses back towards the inside, a bit of unlucky, cramped up. Maybe marginally flattered, but I look at him just lengthened through the line. He was just super, super strong, dominant.
And then She's Bulletproof, Arabian Summer.
Bonnie Blue. Who's Bonnie Blue? Name rings a bell. Is it a 2-year-old? Sunshine of Prep. Yeah, I'd say TJ or something. Or, well, there's what else is it? It won't go to a Galaxy, you wouldn't think so. Not really sure. I think it's trialled all right. Trialled all right behind something trial better than it, I think. Right, so that's them. I'll look them up here. Apocalyptic. Oh, spelling that first time. So yeah, this horse was very unlucky behind. I haven't got it up here yet, so I'll have to get the screen up. Yeah, I actually didn't try that well to even bother looking at it. Strata Varena's worth looking at, so I'll pull it up. If I can spell it. Trials. So this was trialled twice, once before Christmas, September, and then 2 times this time in 30th of 1st. And it's an interesting horse. If it's known for the Sweet Embrace this week, I think it's an interesting horse that could do something.
Missile Magnate was fast.
Leads here, just under a hold.
The lead at the big third was Macrabore down the.
And that's just its first trial out this time in over 800. Nice gap behind Tuscany's. Looked decent at the trials, and then this is its second trial over 1,050, which is, I think, is important heading to a potential, throw it in the deep end sort of situation. You want them to be reasonably towards their top.
And they're off.
Obviously the stable flying, but again, effortless speed, which is a good thing. Time here is nothing spectacular, which is probably negative. I like to see 2-year-olds run time, but just got something about her, this horse, the way she sort of handles herself, effortless speed, held together throughout, quickens nicely at the end of her trial without, pricking her ears. She's an interesting horse going towards the races this week. She's one that I thought was interesting. What do we got? Bonnie Blue? Who's Bonnie Blue? Oh, Britt. Oh. Is that the girl? Is that her name? Bonnie Blue. Jesus Christ. How am I going? Oh, she trials the right, Sunshine. When she wants to. Bloody hard stable to work out what they're doing, though. Romantic Warrior was good. I'm sure everyone's seen the replay of it. That was an incredible race. Whether he went early or not, I'd be in the camp that he did go a little bit early. He got that dream run through and sort of, I think, saw daylight a little bit quick and just couldn't help himself but to take off. I think if he had his time over again, he'd wait and count to 10 and probably wins the race. But just an incredible race, 2 incredible horses there. And certainly not worth hanging him over the ride, that's for sure. But it was probably just a split-second decision when the gaps opened and you just saw an opening for a bright young player. But, time over again, instead he probably just hold it up for a couple more strides and probably gets away with the race. But the winner's a freak on dirt, and second horse, very good horse as well. All right, let's look at these upcoming. I don't even know what Adamo is. Where does he call? Futures Saturday, 1st of March. Is that us? No. Futures. What have we got this week? Australian Guineas. Very Elegant Stakes, Surround Stakes, Walter Stakes. Actually, we better look at that trial first, huh? Skyline Stakes, Blamey Stakes, English Sprint. All right, let's look at that trial from today. It's not like he does it a little bit, Waller, but he doesn't. It's not his thing to want to back horses up quickly off trials. What's the time? 102.78, 102.80, 33.77. If that's correct, that's pretty solid time for 1,050. Stupid screen, hang on.
TJ as well. And Tommy Berry back riding at the trials this morning. Berry aboard
This
Schwartz.
stupid,
So
the
the
way
lights
this works,
on and
that's
we're
probably the
set
best way
now.
I'm going to get it. Screen's a
Ready
bit
for
big.
the third heat. A lot of interest in this. And
Jumps well, that's a great sign.
pretty sluggish
You
out
leave
with
me over
Bear
and over
on the
again, say that.
loose,
Trials love it when
and
horses
going forward
returning
in the
from
early
spells
stages,
jump well.
they're pale below, sluggish out, but it's improving its position very skinny. Green side punch is done, and now Berry takes it to a clear lead, turning for home. Schwartz by 2 lengths on Heat.
So Schwartz is a race fit horse, so it's entitled to trial a lot better than Autumn Glow no matter what.
On the loose, down to the 200er, and Schwartz is full of running by 2 on Heat Missile being revved up, then Punch Lane, Autumn Glow being very quietly ridden, but Schwartz is too good for these, and Schwartz won it by 2. Heat Missile, who holds a nom for the Oaks, has run second. Now Autumn Glow's made a line, then Berry just letting go. Punch Lane's right there on the fence, but Schwartz is too good for these, and Schwartz won it by 2. Heat Missile, who holds a nom for the Oaks, has run. Autumn Glow being very quietly ridden, but Schwartz is too good for these, and
Punch Lane, Heat Missile, Grabini, Clear Proof, Rattle and Hum, Bear on the loose. Trial pretty good. Do I have it a better horse? Got a lot better set up. Lady Shenandoah has a lot better set up. Just seeing what these sort of things. So she's won off a slow tempo. She won off a fast tempo. She won off a fast tempo. She's beaten Colt. She's beaten Dawn Service, Wanneroo, Snack, Showing Main, Manal. And then Lady Shenandoah's won over a mile. Second start in a race. Not easy at all. Third, second up. Jesus. Fuck. If I had to own one of them, gun to my head, I want to own Lady Shenandoah. She's just gone to another level. First prep was great. Heavy track first start, went straight to 1200 at Doomben and ran really well against Clean Energy, who I think is a very good horse. Did it all on one, like sort of first prep, 2-year-old filly, heavy track to 1200 metres interstate, like huge effort. Came back off a slow tempo, won. Came out, smashed him off a slow tempo at a mile second up. Came back, smashed him it again. Over 1200 first up against Lady Camelot, who's had a huge advantage, fitness and everything wise, positioning, run, blinkers on, just absolutely primed to the bejesus, and she treated her with contempt. The other horse has got to beat her first up off a trial. If they met on Saturday, Lady Shenandoah has to be favourite for mine. Autumn Glow is completely untapped, but I think if I had to take one at the moment, it'd be Lady Shenandoah. But I wouldn't throw either of them out of the stable if I could fit them both. There's no way, shape or form. All right, actually, I'll use that screen and just bring this down. Why does it do that? Hang on, I'll do that. Why did I do that? What an idiot. What an idiot. Bring the whole thing down, John, you idiot. Whoever J-Mac rides would be a great guide. Yeah, probably. Because Arrowfield, like, he's definitely more loyal to Coolmore than Arrowfield, but it would be insane to think that he doesn't have his choice. Australian Guineas, Point and Shoot. Does anyone know who's riding Point and Shoot? Because I don't. $6, $3.50. Is this, and it's a mile, right? There's not much depth to this race. Angel Capital's been bought by Yulong too. That's interesting. Point and Shoot, just absolutely flying. Is it 1400 or a mile? Something in the back of my head tells me it's 1400, but it shouldn't be. D lane point and shoot. My nemesis. $1,600. So 1,600 second up for Angel Capital has to be a query. I know it was good first up 1,400, which is usually a good point at a good second up. Seppels' fifth run first prep. That's not easy to do. Savagely, jeez. I wouldn't want to have my life on point and shoot, but I can't wait to see how it goes, and I hope that makes sense. Like, I honestly, I wouldn't be jumping out of trees to back point and shoot, but I can't wait to see what it does. Holy shit, it's done some pretty special things its last couple of runs. And I for one, didn't think it'd run a strong mile, and I still don't think it does, but its turn of foot is so good. Like, I think a mile's as far as it'll ever get in its life, but yeah, interesting runner. Interesting runner. Anyway, nothing too exciting there from me from a betting standpoint. Delici Boulevard's interesting. Don't know if it's going to go there or not. There's nothing down in the prices like anything rough that looks like it's going to jump out of the ground to me off what I've seen. Plymouth was average the other day. Well, it's going to be 28th up if it gets there, Paul. That's the problem. But if it wins this, you could see him sort of cotton balling it into the Doncaster, but even then, that's still not easy. Tough prep. Very elegant stakes. Via Sistina, Fangirl. So this is a mile, is it? You'd think they'd put the distance, wouldn't you? In just, it's not that hard, surely, to put the distance in these races. They haven't got the field out, have they? Why have they not got the weights for this race? Why do they not have the weights for this race? They've got it in noms but not weights. Oh, it's a mile. Mile second up. Yeah, well, there's no value there, is there? 516 is the one to beat, clearly. I think Cho Wolf's still being overplayed by the market. I still think the two mares are clearly the one to beat. I'd struggle to see him turning the tables on them without something weird happening. So I think he's the weakness in the market. Seppel's going around a win for Daniel. Capital slow tempo is this. That'll be a query. Yeah, what about Gold Rush? I think too early. Tiger Seth, I think too early. Yeah, nothing there, I don't think. Price-wise, nothing too exciting there. I think that's just a wait and see. Holy shit, $1.70 versus $5, Lady Camilla. That destroys any interest in the surround stakes. 1,400 first up for. I honestly think that's about right. I think that's what they should be. Snowy, mate, I struggle to see any of these horses turning the tables at this point. So, yeah, I think that's fair enough. But more so if you knew that she wasn't going there. 350 to 170, 450 out to $6. Yeah, so anyone who's got on the Lady Shenandoah early price has done well there so far. Amelia's Jewel, again, just not getting any sort of great price, are you? But she does look very well placed in the Guy Walter. Tim's won it about 27 times. I don't know what he's riding on Saturday. Valentia. Doesn't look anything there. Like, geez, they're not doing you any favours, are they? 280, 350, 350. Launceston Cup, Christ, I go wide, but not that wide that early. Should probably got Land Legend now. A little bit in Sydney Cup just in case it does something this weekend. Trial good, Land Legend, and it's I've seen it sort of gallop between races, I think, and done well also. It looks like it's going very well. Liverpool City Cup, Gringotts, Iona Merck, Jesus Christ, how far is this race? 1,400 or 1,500? 1,300. Gringotts, very good horse, Iona Merck. Jeez, it's had more starts this prep than its whole career. Ain't Cat dangerous. Yeah, give me the beat, boys. Went too slow the other day. It could improve. Parshi's ready to go. Nothing exciting there. Belazane 350. What was the flux here? $8 into $4 within the law. Memo $4.50 out to $5. I think Belazane will be giving him plenty to catch here. Sweet Embrace, 1200, right? Yeah, I think she's clearly the horse to beat here. So here's that horse I was talking about, Strata Varana. If it gets a run, that's interesting. 15 out to 26 is not overly encouraging that the horse is going to run. But worth having a look at if it does get a run, Strata Varana. Wouldn't be chiming in not knowing that it's going to definitely accept. But Belazane, well and truly the horse to beat here for me. Skyline Stakes, the Mighty Shaggy up against Rivellino. That's not even a fair race. United States, you'd think, would have the Mighty J-Mac back aboard. Comedy was good against Shaggy. Again, I think the prices look fairly fair here. Shaggy has to be the one to beat over these horses. He's 2-1 takeable. Back or lay. Oof, not sure what I'd do there. I nearly have to back it at $3. I'd probably rather back it than lay it at $3, not knowing barrier draws or anything. There's a little bit of speed in this race, but nothing too significant. Like, it'll be bouncing there and won't be far away. A horse like Cobra Club, there's not mad speed, so he looks like he's going to bounce on speed and be extraordinarily hard to beat again. They're going to have to run him down. The Shaggy, the two favourites in the 2-year-old races look the obvious. This looks like an absolute nightmare. Placed to Carousel's been well backed. It's very well placed in this race. And it's a very steady race. Like, you wouldn't think Deny Knowledge would back up. Molly Blooms to party like they're just horses. Interesting horse placed to Carousel. English Sprint. Gatsby, Jesus, how far is the English Sprint? $1,200 million. $1,200 million. I think 1,200 is as far as Gatsby's goes. They resumed him at 1,200. He went okay. You know, on public attention linebacker, but I thought he only just went okay. Jesus. It's an interesting horse, El Mozilla. Island Deck. Island Deck's a bloody interesting horse. If you knew it was going, 20-1 Island Deck's a huge price if you knew it was going. I think it's definitely competitive with a horse like Gatsby's. Especially 1,200 down the straight. Yeah, it was a bit of a funky race, Rubicon, but the winner was very good. I think there'll be plenty of wins coming out of that race, but you got to be careful where they go. You wouldn't be like chiming into them heavily at Group 1 sprint level, but there'll be plenty of horses come out of that race and run well over the next few weeks. You just got to be very careful. There's not a lot of depth to our sprint races, like it's like the 2-year-old races. I don't think Estrella won this race. Who wins it all? It doesn't Björn win it all the time? Did he win it with? I don't know. They usually have the historical things here, but they don't have them this time. Mate, of all people who should be telling people what. Surely, I don't know. Did Estrella win it? I don't think it ever won over 1,200. Won the Sunlight Classic, $500,000 down the straight. Won the, you're right, English Sprint, 554,000. Blake Shin led all the way. $3.20 beat Robrick and Caballas. Caballas is the horse I was trying to think of. That was the one that Björn sent down there. Yeah, you're right. And then it won the Sunlight, and then it hasn't won. See, it won at Caulfield Sprint. I know where you're coming from. She was extremely well set up. She's bulletproof, ran a really good race, but I don't look at her and think, gee, Group 1 sprinter. I agree with you there. Like more of a Group 2 mares race sort of horse. I know where you're coming from. But the winner's definitely a Group 1 horse. And there's a number of horses in the race that are solid sprinters, but I agree. It was a Group 1 handicap at best and probably more of a Group 2 handicap. That's about it for me. Anything more exciting? El Mazzillo, very, very interesting at the straight. Dreams was huge last up, but had a lot in its favour. Yeah, Tissue's a very, very good horse. Very well played, but far from a champion. I agree with that. She's like a dominant Group 2. Well, she's a Group 1 horse. She's a Group 1 mare. But she's no Fangirl or Fire Sistina. Arabian Summer worked pretty hard, but it's another horse. You'd say it's a rubber stamp Group 3, Group 2 horse. The Guy Walter. I don't. There's definitely not enough fat in the top 3 without going into the race heavily. I haven't done enough on the race to say like to be chiming into Amelia Jewel, Housefina, Alentia being able to split them too much when I can't really see much down in the page that's going to sort of be too dangerous. They're all solid horses. Osprey Flirt's always dangerous, fresh. Our Gold Hope was all right the other day if they back her up. Dark Glitter was all right. French Endeavour was all right with the excuses. Like those horses can all run cheeky races here, but yeah, I'm not really sure. I Am Me's just a horse for me. Curvalant was really good. She was really good. The blinkers obviously do a huge job at switching her on, and they just gave her a look around first up, and she improved. She found the right race too. All right, guys, I'm pretty cactus. Thank you. Thursday we'll go again. Yeah, well, Treasure of the Moment is just dangerous as hell. Keyboard Warrior, it trialled good. Did it trial well enough to beat Lady Shenandoah first up 1400? You can't, not off that. You didn't see enough. Which Bella? Yeah, I think she's out for the autumn, I think. Yeah, it feels like that sort of race, Brendan. I agree. Posty, I owe you money. Don't leave town. Everyone else, I'll see you Thursday to bet on lots of dogs and have a look at the weekend's races. Not just me. Everyone's been pretty good with their insight and had a bit of luck on those Thursdays so far. A lot of people sharing some good information. I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone coming along. See you Thursday. Be there or be square. Look forward to it, mate. Cheers.
What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.